Wow. Okay, we have been on a happiness quest all month, right? All month we've been exploring happiness, differentiating between the happiness that we experience in the world and the true joy that is really the essence of our being. We've learned some effective techniques for connecting with our inner joy and staying anchored in this place of joy. So I think I want to back up, though, and ask the question. I probably should have started with this, but we're getting to it now. But the question, why is it so important that we stay centered in our joy? Because, hey, a lot of life is serious. There's some serious stuff going on, right? And we might feel that it's irresponsible to feel such joy. It's like, how selfish am I to be feeling such happiness when so many people are suffering, right? Or maybe if, I'm just not paying attention to what's going on in the world, if I'm wrapped up in my own joy. Or maybe I'm not taking my own life seriously if I'm all about joy. You ever feel that way? Even unconsciously, Sometimes it's the unconscious stuff that really sort of can block our experience of happiness. So a few years ago, we did a book study on a book that had just come out at the time that was a conversation between the Dalai Lama and Archbishop Desmond Tutu, right, who has since passed. The book is the Book of Joy, finding happiness in a changing world. And it's a conversation about joy, right? And so these are two people who have witnessed a lot of suffering in their countries, in their time in the world. And yet, in the book, they talk about how finding a way to connect with our inner joy has benefits that go beyond ourself. Pointing out that pain can cause us to be really self-focused. It consumes us. Have you noticed? But if we can find a way to that inner essence of joy, we are more available for others. The more we heal our own pain, the more we can help others heal theirs. The more joy we bring to others, the more that we experience ourselves. And so Archbishop Tutu, if you want to put that next slide up, he said that our goal is to be a reservoir of joy, an oasis of peace, a pool of serenity that can ripple out to all of those around you. Beautiful, right? Joy is, in fact, contagious. And the more we're in a state of joy, the more we are a blessing to others. And being in that state of joy can open us up to the divine flow because it is our natural state. And studies have been done that have proved that it actually benefits us. It makes us healthier physically and mentally. The University of California, Berkeley did some studies that show that joyful states reduce our level of cortisol, which is a stress hormone, and increase our resilience to stress. And then long-term studies of, overall joy and optimism are linked to lower rates of heart disease and hypertension and a lot of other chronic illnesses. And then mentally, being in that state of joy can help us see opportunities more readily and help us move forward towards those opportunities. It can help us find creative solutions to our challenges. So we want to be in a state of joy for all those reasons, right? And many more. But honestly, how can we do that? How can we remain in joy when there's just so much challenges going on in our world? It's a good question. So the Dalai Lama was asked, how can he be in a state of joy? Look, he was exiled from his country at an early age and witnessed violence towards his fellow Tibetans, at the hands of the Chinese. How can you experience, and you see his face, he's like always joyful, right? He's got this beautiful, joyous expression on his face always. And here's his response. For every event in life, there are many perspectives. When you look at the same event from a wider perspective, your sense of worry and anxiety reduces and you have greater joy. Now, he obviously mastered this witnessing consciousness that we've been talking about the last few weeks, right? He's mastered that ability to sort of observe everything without judgment, which we're working on. You're working on it, right? We're all working on that. Also, with the benefit of hindsight, he sees so many blessings that have come out of that tragedy. First and foremost is that his message of loving kindness, of compassion, of mindfulness and meditation practices has gone global. It's really kind of taken hold in the mainstream. World leaders want to meet with the Dalai Lama. Everyone wants a selfie with the Dalai Lama. I want a selfie with the Dalai Lama. Also, there is a new openness to interfaith dialogue. So none of that would have happened had he stayed in his own monastery in Tibet, instructing only his monks. So the blessings. And so when we look at a serious situation that's going on in our lives, from the narrow window of the challenge itself, and see ourselves as victims of it, we're trapped in it. And joy is eclipsed. But if we can stand back and see it from a wider perspective and remember that we always have the choice of how we experience anything, then we might begin to see the blessings in that challenge. And as we lift up and see a higher perspective, and maybe even project our vision into the future, kind of to get the benefit of time, we can now look at the situation and say, yes, it's a challenge now. Yeah, it sucks. I don't like it. But I know there is a blessing in that experience, and darn it, I'm going to find it. I'm calling it forth. You with me? You've had this experience, right? I know many of you have had this experience. I'm seeing some faces of people who have recently had a challenge and found a blessing in it. Right? That's what we're about. That's what we're doing. And when we embrace that vision, we begin to see it from this wider perspective. And we can then see, maybe in the benefit of a month or a year or longer, that challenge will begin to make sense in terms of what needed to change, maybe, how we needed to grow. And embracing that idea reveals the blessing and reveals the joy. So that's the first way that we can reconnect with this natural state of joy, is shifting our perspective. Okay, so the second way that we can reconnect with this natural state of joy is through releasing resentment. So in the 25 or so years that I've been doing spiritual coaching, the thing that I have noticed the most, that keeps people stuck the most, is an inability to forgive. To forgive themselves, that's big, and to forgive others. And what happens is that resentment builds up and it blocks the flow of good in their lives. And sometimes it has a physical experience that's not pleasant. Sometimes it takes that form. So the most effective way that we can be free and realign ourselves with our true joy is to release resentments. Forgive ourselves. Forgive those who we feel have done us wrong. Now that sounds easy, right? Sure, I'll do that today. Just kind of cross that off of my to-do list. But of course we know it's more difficult, right? We know, as I always talk about here, it's a process. It's a process that begins with a willingness. And Archbishop Tutu said, "Those who say forgiving is a sign of weakness haven't tried it." That was good. He goes on to say that forgiveness is the only way to heal ourselves and be free from the past. Without forgiveness, we remain tethered to the person who harmed us. Until we can forgive them, that person will hold the keys to our happiness. That person will be our jailer. When we forgive, we take back our own control, our own fate, and our feelings. We become our own liberator. We become our own liberator. So that must have been the understanding behind what Desmond Tutu witnessed at the Truth and Reconciliation Commission that he headed in South Africa after the abuses of, apartheid. He shares stories in that book about people who were coming to the commission, mothers, sharing stories of how their children, their sons, were brutally murdered with the offender, right? Just standing up and sharing so they get the whole impact of what happened. And then those same women stood up and forgave them. And some women who were abused, who were permanently disfigured, stood in front of that person so they could see, the effect of what they did, and proceeded to forgive them and actually recommend that they be given amnesty. And he said he was so moved over and over by these stories of forgiveness that he was just weeping through it all. It's powerful. It's powerful. So I found that the most effective way to forgive is to remember that everyone does the best they can with the consciousness they have at the time. You have always done the best you could with the consciousness you have at the time. If you were more conscious, you would have done better. If they were more conscious, they would have done better. And so with that understanding, it helps give us a channel into this idea of forgiveness, being able to forgive. We all come into this world innocent children of a loving presence. And for some of us, our upbringing and our life experiences support that. And for others, it beats it out of them. so we can have compassion for that. Right? We can have compassion. So that is the second way that we reconnect with this natural joy state, is through forgiveness. So lastly, opening up to this ever-present joy that is all around us and within us is very often the result of giving ourselves in service in some way. Study after study has proven, we're not quite ready for that one. We'll get there. Study after study has proven that we human beings are happiest when we're making other people happy. It's just the way we are wired, right? And that can be, anyway, it could be something simple like just giving a genuine smile to somebody who really needs it, or a phone call, or, a kind word, a donation where that's appropriate, or in larger ways like many of you have done in the past few weeks in the aftermath of the flood, helping out, others, helping to clean out places that were devastated, helping members of our congregation get back on their feet. And right now we have a drive for the school in Hillsborough that was completely destroyed from the floods. And we're bringing supplies and materials so that the kids can get back to school. Ava's son, one of our members here, is in that school. So that's another way. And it just feels so good. That reminds me, I've got a bag of supplies. I've left it in my car. I got to bring it in and put it in that basket. That is a way. There's so many ways that we can just be of service and to be a blessing, to share our joy with others, right? It's about sharing our joy. When we give of ourselves, joy grows. It's a natural cause and effect action that happens there. Now, sometimes we are the ones that need to receive help. And we bless those who give it to us when we receive it graciously and gratefully. But we receive. We receive. And then when we're ready, we jump back into, the energy of circulation, that natural cause and effect thing, that natural process of give and take in nature. So what I'm really talking about here, overall is generosity of spirit, cultivating that consciousness of generosity, which is just a natural expression of our need for one another. Or as my friend Frank says, interdependence. It's our interdependence. It's always an expression of that. That's what we're talking about. Okay, so the three ways, and we can put that slide up now, the three ways that we can reconnect with our natural state of joy and stay there. Remember, that's what we want to do. Number one, shifting our perspective, seeing the challenge maybe from the benefit of time, and the perspective that we have the power to choose how we experience everything. Secondly is releasing resentment and forgiveness, remembering we are our own liberators. And three, giving, this cultivating generosity of spirit, recognizing our interdependence. So being in this place, staying, and whenever we get like, okay, this challenge, or I'm seeing this stuff in the world, and boy, it's really pulling me out of that. How can I get back here? How can I shift my perspective? How can I see it from a wider point of view? Is there somebody that I've got resentment and just, I'm holding unforgiveness? How can I begin to see that we're all innocent children who maybe have not had the same benefit that we have growing up? How can I get back to that place of forgiveness? how can I open my heart and give of myself and be of service to others and experience that joy that is the natural result of that? All right, so that's the ticket. Those are the keys. There you are. Namaste. Hi, it's Reverend Victoria here. I'm at Unity Center of Peace with our house band, Bright Matter.
Hello.
Yeah, and if this video has inspired you or empowered you or opened your heart, opened your consciousness, or even just given you hope, we ask that you support what we're doing here by making a donation today, going to unitychapelhill.org or clicking the link below. And we thank you.
Thank
Thank you.